Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Pennsylvania County Zoning Commission this 6th day of September 2022. Roll call, please.
Ms. Henderson?
Present.
Mr. Waters?
Present.
Mr. Horn?
Present.
Ms. Meese? Mr. Dalton?
Here.
Mr. Oakes?
Present.
Mr. Harker?
Present.
Mr. Haymore?
Present. Ladies and gentlemen, would you stand for a moment of silence and pledge to the flag, please? Gentlemen, if you remove your caps. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Does any citizen here tonight have anything they would like to bring before the commission that is not on the agenda? Thank you. Approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion for that?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Dalton,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Waters. Ready for a vote? The record show 8 yes and 0 against. Approval of the minutes. Do I hear a motion for approval of the minutes?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Motion by Ms. Meese,
Second.
motion.
second by Mr. Horn. Ready for a vote? Let the record show 8 yes and 0 against. The chairman's report, I have nothing to report. Ladies and gentlemen, pursuant to Article 5, Division 7, the Pennsylvania County Zoning Ordinance, we, the Planning Commission, have empowered to hear and decide specific applications in support of said ordinance and to make recommendations to the Board of Supervisors or the Zone of Appeals. In accomplishing this important task, we are charged with promoting the health, safety, welfare of the citizens of Pennsylvania County. We must ensure that all of our decisions and recommendations are directed to these goals, that each be consistent with the environment, the comprehensive plan, and the best interests of Pennsylvania County, its citizens, and its posterity. Anyone here to speak to the board regarding the zoning cases will be limited to 3 minutes. At 7:03, case R-22-028 is open to public hearing. Ms. Ragsdale.
Case R-22-028, Carol Dinkle has petitioned to rezone 16.08 acres located on State Road 638, Warwick Mill Road, in the Stainton River Election District from R1 Residential Suburban Subdivision District to A1 Agricultural District to allow the property to be consolidated with an adjacent parcel zoned A1. Once the property is rezoned to A1, all uses listed under Section 35-178 are permitted. The staff summary is enclosed in the board packet. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Dinkle could not be here tonight. He had a pre-scheduled vacation, but I'll be happy to answer any questions if the board chooses to hear the case.
Okay. You've heard Ms. Ragsdale. Anyone have any questions concerning this application? If not, at 7:04, case R-22-028 is closed for public hearing. Mr. Harper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In case R-22-028, I make a motion that we recommend to the Board of Supervisors to accept this rezoning request.
Second the motion.
Second by Mr. Horn. Any discussion? If not, we're ready for a vote. Let the record show 8 yes, 0 against, that 16.8 acres will be rezoned from R1 to A1. At 7:05, case 22029 is open to public hearing. Ms. Ragsdale.
Case R-22-029, J. Kubas Holdings LLC has petitioned to rezone 90.08 acres located on State Road 872 Vandola Church Road in the Westover Election District from R1 Residential Suburban Subdivision District to A1 Agricultural District to allow for a campground as a future use. Once the property is rezoned to A1, all uses listed under Section 35-178 are permitted. The staff summary is enclosed in the board packet. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Kubas is here to represent the petition.
Mr. Cooper, sir, do you have anything that you would like to add that's not in our packet? Good evening, sir. Welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, and members of the board. I think you have a pretty expansive package. I do have a small presentation just to touch upon, I think, the 4 or 5 major points. If I may be allowed, but it's not necessary. If it's not the
Hold just one second. Does you need to
I
start over for the
apologize.
recording, or did you catch it? You good? You can proceed, sir.
Do I repeat myself?
Yes, sir.
I do have a very small presentation that I would like to touch upon, I think, the more important topics, but I think that the report from staff is pretty expansive. It doesn't add much more than what you already have, other than the fact that it gives you exact measurements from where the noise will be generated to our surrounding neighbors, as well as it touches upon the compatibility and the density issues, but I believe that's in the report.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Cooper?
Mr. Chairman, I would recommend that Mr. Kubas go ahead and give his presentation, if that's okay with you, just for the sake of the audience.
Yes, that'd be great, yeah.
Thank you. Okay. There we go. Mr. Chairman, the subject property subject to this application is about 90 acres, 91 acres. It's a composition of 5 parcels. 2 parcels are along Riverside Drive. Both of those are zoned commercial. What's subject to this rezoning is the 3 parcels in the back that total the 90 acres. What exactly is it that we intend to do? It's a high-end RV resort comprised of 454 units. Of the 454 units, 51 of them have what's called casitas, which are we call our premium units, which is more like a gazebo. It'll have an outdoor kitchen, TV, chimney, so on and so forth. The 2 pictures on the right are pictures taken from the Caesars Palace in Las Vegas. The purpose, or one of the main purposes of this resort, is to help it be a feeder to Caesars Palace in Danville. The theme of it is going to be an ancient Roman theme. The picture at the top is the fountain at the entrance over there. If you look closely at our site plan, there is a fountain. Now, I'm not going to make the statement that it'll be identical, but that is the theme of the entire resort. It'll be a high-end resort. Picture at the bottom is a picture of the pool. If you notice closely behind the pool, there is another fountain, and in this case, it'll be the amenities section in that triangle as soon as you come in. There's a reason why the amenities are located in that section of the of the resort. And it's because it is at the furthest point away from all of our neighbors. Again, it's to complement the Caesars Palace going up in Danville. Now, in order to be able to develop an RV resort in accordance with the comprehensive plan and the land development regulations, under the only district you're allowed to do it is the A1 district. And through the A1 district, under a special use permit, under section 35-179. Now, the section at the top, which is section 35-138, are the actual standards by which you have to develop the resort in order for it to be acceptable and in compliance with the comprehensive plan and the ordinance. These are some of the standards of 35-138, which you have on the left-hand side are the standards as per the ordinance, chapter 35. What you have on the right-hand side is what we've designed and presented to you. It's in your package. If you look at the first one, it calls for minimum RV sites to be 1,600 square feet. Well, we have three types of sites. We have our back-ends, our pull-throughs, and our luxury sites. Our smallest is 1,981 square feet, and the largest is above 5,300 square feet. The second section is the width, which is 25 feet. We've complied, actually, we met or exceeded it. We've got 30, 35, and 40-foot wide sites. The next topic is that under the code, it's a minimum of 3 acres. You're allowed to do it with a property that is a minimum of 3 acres. Our property is that we're rezoning subject to the application is 90 to 91 acres. Now, the next section I believe is key. The maximum density allowed under the comprehensive plan on section 35-138 is 20 units per acre. That's what the code says. That's what we would be allowed to develop under 35-138. However, notice we're only requesting 5 units an acre, or 25% of what the code allows us to build, 5 units per acre. The other 3 or 4 standards are the open space. If you look at it, we've got about 45 acres left of open space. A lot of that is forestal setbacks, recreation area. We've added a lake. The minimum off-site parking we've met, which is basically 1 parking spot per RV space. The maximum height is 35 feet. Obviously, we will meet that. What we've supplied is a conceptual site plan, so the actual architectural or structural drawings have not been drawn, but we will meet every code in 35-138. And the last one, extremely important, it's got to have adequate water and sewer supplies. We're in discussions. I've had discussions with the city of Danville, which supplies water and sewer to that area. We've got water and sewer very close by to the property. I believe staff has also been engaged in some of those conversations, independent of me. Another thing that is very important to look at is what is the future land use of this property, and where is the property located? The future land use of the property is medium to high density residential. It's presently zoned R1. But the future land use of the 90 acres, or approximately 90 acres, is medium to high density residential. But also notice that it is in one of the economic development corridors. The northwest corner of the property, the entire third parcel that is subject to this application request, falls within that. So a portion of the northwest corner of the property is within the economic development corridor and with a future land use of commercial. These are the goals and objectives of the county's economic development section in the comprehensive plan. And I'm not going to harp into each and every one of them because I did say I was going to make this brief. But if you look at that, you'll see that what your objectives are and what are the strategies to achieve the objective. When you look closely at every single one of the details that we've submitted in our application submittal, we met or exceeded every objective, and we've met or exceeded every strategy to accomplish those objectives of the comprehensive plan. There's 4 points. There's actually 5, but it's my understanding that with respect to traffic, the county has also engaged VDOT and the city, as I have, and they're working on the possibility of doing a traffic impact study to ensure that we meet the traffic standards of VDOT. The first topic I want to talk upon is compatibility. The question is the property compatible? When you look at the present GIS map of the county, you'll see that although the property is R1, It abuts to a huge property that's also agricultural. The property that abuts to the subject property is 68 acres in total, which represents approximately 75% of the size of the property we're requesting to be rezoned. The next issue is density. I provided you in the application submittal this density chart, if I don't fumble through all my stuff here. What's very important to note in the density chart is, again, the first line calls for what we've submitted. Under 35-138, we've submitted, it's a 91-acre property, a total of 454 units at a density of 5 units per acre. Next line is what the actual standard allows us to do. Under 35-138 subsection D, again, rezoning to an agricultural standard, it's 20 units per acre. Based on the size of the property, it's 1,820 units, what the standard allows us to do. However, we're only requesting 25% of what the comprehensive plan and the ordinance allows us to do. The rest of the districts that you see there are all the residential districts. I wanted you to pay attention to the one in the center, which is the R1 district. That is what the property is presently zoned today. Under the R1 district, you're allowed to have lots up to 10,000 square feet. That translates into approximately 4.356 units per acre. If we were to take the property as it sits today and do a residential development under the code, we could get a total of 396 units compared to the 454 that we are requesting. The difference is not that great. And I will submit to you that an RV resort, because of the traffic generated by the RVs, when they come in, don't move until they leave. They're sitting there for the length of their stay. Whereas under an R1 designation, you've got cars per homes at an average of 2, and they're usually coming in and out, run errands, and do whatever things that it is that they do to be able to move in the vehicle. When you look at the bottom half of the residential district, you'll see that if we requested a multifamily, if we requested a mobile home, or even a PUD, the number of units that we would be allowed by right under the code are much greater than what we are requesting today. This is, I think, is a topic that's very important for our surrounding neighbors, and they're very important for us. And this is one of the most important topics that we focused in when we designed this property. Under Chapter 41, the noise ordinance, under Section 41.6, it gives us what are the decibel levels that are permissible under the code, both during the day from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. and at night from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. Notice that they break it down into 3 sections. The noise-sensitive areas, which I would have to assume that would be the hospitals and schools. Then they have all the residential districts combined into one, and then they have the agricultural district. Notice that the agricultural district and the residential district, the numbers are the same. They get a more detailed information as to how we arrive with the numbers and the process that we use. It's included in our submittal in pages 22 through pages 28. When we talk about numbers, we question, what does that number mean? If there's a decibel level of 50, what does it mean? If there's a decibel level of 150, what does it mean? What does it sound like? This gives us a small breakdown on how the calculations are done, how the reductions are measured based on distance, based on attenuation. To get a better idea as to what those noise levels mean, I've included in the package what you have on the screens right now. For example, an air raid siren with levels of 140 decibels measured at 50 feet is going to be painfully loud. However, a soft whisper down at the bottom of the page measured at 15 feet that registers a 30 decibel level is very quiet. Just to show opposite ends of the spectrum, so we have a general idea of understanding what the number represents when it comes to the actual noise level. Notice that there's two sections that I've put asterisks on. One is called, which are the two that I think most apply to the RV resort. The first asterisk is on the noisy restaurant / freeway traffic / business office. Well, this won't have freeway traffic. The second one has the two asterisks, is called light auto traffic. Notice that the measurements of the decibel levels in the light auto have been taken at 100, not at 50. In order to be able to come to the accurate number of decibel level in noise intensity, you have to look at the distance, you have to look at from the source to the receptor, and you also have to look at attenuation, meaning what are the reductions, what causes the noise to be reduced. If you look on slide 18, my apologies, you look on slide 18, it talks about the fact that it decreases in intensity over the distance of the source. It generally described as a source decibel level doubling per distance. In other words, the noise, when you double the distance, reduces. There's basically two types of noises. It's called point source or line source. Point source is a noise that's generated in one area. For example, here, I would be point source. I'm generating the noise. Outside, the street across the street, since it's through a corridor, that would be your line source. What are some of the factors that reduces sound? Whether it's a hard site or a soft site. Whether it's a site that's been built or it's a site that's still forestal, as a forestal area, for example. If you look down in the middle of the page, when ground cover or normal unpacked earth, which is a soft site, exists between the source and the receptor, the ground becomes absorptive of noise energy. Absorptive ground results in an additional 1.5 reduction per doubling of the distance. Added to the standard reduction rate for soft site conditions, point source noise attenuation is at a rate at 7.5. Well, basically, and we're not going to take a deduction for the soft site, but what it basically says is the doubling of the distance, you reduce the size of the decibel level by 6. The last factor in this page, which is very important, is a topography. It talks about topography, vegetation, and atmospheric factors. The last paragraph reads, a break in the line of sight between the noise source and the receptor can result in an additional 5 decibel level reduction. Dense vegetation can reduce noise levels by as much as 5 decibel levels for every 100 feet of vegetation, up to a maximum of 10 decibels for 200 feet, according to US DOT 1995. So now that we have a general idea of how to read, how to establish the noise level, the noise intensity, what slide 20 does is it gives us a general idea measured from the aerial site plan of where, in this case, noise is being generated. Notice that the amenities section has a yellow triangle. That's the generator of noise. Therefore, that's going to be your point source noise. Notice that right across it is a small rectangle. That's the main building. The reason we've identified that is because on the first floor of the main building, you'll have your offices, you'll have your sundry, you'll have a small shop for people to buy their incidentals, and on the second floor, you're going to have your game rooms, your bingo rooms, your card rooms, and in the center, you're going to have a bar and grill that'll open out looking towards the resort, looking towards the amenities section, with an area for outside seating. Notice that we've taken measurements from the center of the triangle. That's your point source. That's where the noise is going to be generated. Roughly, we took the measurements from the center of the pool. We took measurements to every house that we could identify from our neighbors. And we also took measurements to our own property line in this picture. If you notice, going north towards Riverside, the measurement from the center of the amenity section, which is your point noise factor, is 724 feet to the edge of the property line along Riverside. Moving northwest, for example, the Strange family residence, it's at 1,172 feet. The closest residence we could identify next to them is the Kernoodle residence at 1,161 feet. The Galloway residence, 1,108 feet. And it goes all the way around the perimeter of the property. When you look at these numbers, you have to understand that, for example, the first one is almost 1,200 feet away. That's the size of 4 football fields. But that's not what's important. It's not just the length that's important. What's important is what's between the source that generates the noise, intensity, to the point where the receptor's at, which would be the homes. Forestal, buffers, setback, green area. When you take a look at our site plans, you'll see that all of our setbacks are forestal setbacks. We're not knocking down any trees in the areas from the edge of the interior perimeter road to the property line. The next slide would be your line source. By the way, notice that the speed limit inside the resort is 10 miles an hour. That's for many reasons. First and foremost, safety. Second of all, when you have rigs or motorhomes coming in at 10 miles an hour, the RPMs on their engines is reduced significantly, which reduces the noise significantly. On this slide, you would have what's called your line source. Your line source is the noise that travels along a corridor, a road. If you notice what we did here, we took dimensions from the edge of the road to the edge of the property line all the way around the property. Headed north towards Riverside, from the edge of the building to the edge of our property, which are the 2 commercial properties alongside Riverside, you have a setback of 429 feet. Headed in the northwest section, you have a setback of 728 feet. 389 feet. Along the back on Vandola Church Road, all the way across the back, the first one starts at 119 feet on the corner, and all the way across the back, it's consistent at 82 feet. This is important because at some point in time, these are all the factors to come up with your numbers. But what are the numbers? What we did is that, again, we took a comparison of the numbers based on all of our setbacks. Because of what we found out just to the setbacks, it made no sense to do any calculations to our surrounding neighbors because they were so far away that by the time the either line source, noise intensity, or point source, being too technical, the noise generated from the amenity section or the noise generated by the perimeter interior road was going to be so minimal that it would not reach. It would not reach in any decibel level to our surrounding neighbors. What does this chart teach us? What does it tell us? I'm going to kind of work backwards. On the very end, the last 2 columns is what does chapter 41-6 tell us. These are the permissible levels under the code. On the left-hand side, what we did is that we took these dimensions and these numbers based on our setbacks. So our front setback, I had said originally was 425 feet. That was to the edge of Riverside. We took it to the edge of the property line of the subject property of this application. In other words, remember, we got 3 parcels that are subject to this application and 2 parcels that abut to it that are also, or will be also ours, that abut to Riverside, which are commercial. So to that property line that divides both of our parcels, it's 150 feet. How would we compare it? We use freeway traffic, we use light traffic. And the only reason we use freeway traffic is because under that category, you'll see that you have what's called noisy restaurant, and we'll have one in there. So I wanted to make sure that I was, first of all, honest and accurate on our numbers. So if we take, for example, freeway traffic from the front setback of 150 feet, The decibel level measurement at 50 feet is 70. When you move to the right, you'll see that the noise attenuation, because of distance, doubling the distance, is 6 decibel levels. The noise attenuation for a hard site versus soft site, for a hard site, is another 6 decibel levels, which now at a distance of 100 feet, twice the distance, the decibel level at 100 feet would be 58. Our setback is 150 feet. So at 100 feet, it would be 58. 1 decibel level above what the code allows it to be at 100 feet. So the next line shows you what the decibel level would be at 150 feet. By the way, this is on slide 22. I'm not sure if you have it marked. The decibel level at 150 feet, which is the size of your setback, is 52, or 5 decibel levels below Chapter 41-6, which is accordance to the comprehensive plan. That is if it were freeway traffic. This is going to be light traffic. Light traffic, the decibel level is 50. However, it was measured in the study at 100 feet. That's why it has a footnote. There's no deductions for noise attenuation. There's no deductions for hard site. At 100 feet, it's 50. Our setback's 150. The measurement at 100 feet is 50. 7 decibel levels below what the comprehensive plan, Chapter 41-6, allow it to be. At 150, it's 44. 13 decibel levels below what the comprehensive plan allows it to be. Let's move to our rear setback along Vandola Church Road. Setback is 82 feet. There's one section that's 119 feet, so for purposes of brevity, we're just going to use the 82 feet. Again, freeway traffic decibel level is 70 at a measurement of 50. At 100 feet, it would be 53. Question is, how many more would it be? How many more decibel levels would you need to add for 82 feet? It won't be 4. However, light traffic is what you will have on that perimeter road inside of the RV resort along Vandola Church Road. The decibel level along the rear perimeter road, where the setback is 82 feet, will be 45, well below permissible under 41-6. And in the list of what 45 represents, it says very quiet. The east setback. The east setback ranges from 102 feet to 206 feet. Think we get the gist of the deductions. At 100 feet, the decibel level would be 53, 4 below what the comprehensive plan allows at 41-6. That's if it were freeway traffic. At 200 feet, it's 48, 9 below what the code allows. Now, realistic again, this is light traffic. At 100 feet, it'd be 45. At 200 feet, it'd be 28. Under the chart, 28 falls under very quiet. So as you can see, the reason I did it just from the setbacks and not from the dimensions that are outlined in one of those charts to the neighbors is because just in the setbacks alone, you have already met the code. And that's based on anywhere between 82 feet to 200 feet. If we go down to the west side, again, at 100 feet, decibel level will be 53. The setbacks are from 100 to 530 feet. Decibel levels would be 53 at 100 feet, 48 at 200, 31 at 400. Under the light auto, you'd have 45, 28, and 6 respectively. 6 is barely audible. And one of the main reasons is not just the factor of length, but because the setbacks will be untouched forestal areas as you have them today. I said I was going to be brief, and I think I'm taking a little longer than I should. The last section I think that's important we look at is the economic impact that this resort can have on our area. Most people that come up here are going to make their assumptions, make their reports. Most of them are going to impress you with their economic impact. I've done none of that. I haven't made our financial reports of what would be the economic impact that this resort would have in southern Pittsylvania County, city of Danville, or southern Virginia. What I've done is I've gone to the most respected voice and organization in the RV industry. It's called the RV Industry of America, REVA for short. They have one of their main offices here in Virginia, in Reston, Virginia. If you look at the paragraph in the center, it says the association works with federal and state lawmakers and regulators to pursue favorable business environment for its members. And it's the leading source of research, data, and analysis about the RV industry. Those are the numbers that I'm going to use to present to you because those are the ones that are reputable and have been established. The RV industry has an economic impact in our country of $140 billion a year. Produces over 678,000 jobs, $48 billion in wages, $36 billion goes towards RV campgrounds and travel, and generates $14 billion in tax revenue. That's great nationwide. What will it do for our area if this is approved? The state of Virginia, the RV industry, has an economic impact of $2 billion. However, we're 3 miles from the border with North Carolina. And I'm not a betting man, but I would bet that one of the reasons Caesar's Palace is 3 miles away from the border of North Carolina is it also attract North Carolinians. So when we look at what's the economic impact in North Carolina, it's $3 billion. Together, they generate $1.726 billion towards RV campgrounds and travel. Over 22,000 jobs combined. $1.5 billion in wages. And over $327 million in tax revenue. These are not my numbers. These are REVA's numbers. Pittsylvania County, city of Danville, and with God's help, the Palace Resort will be dead set in the center of $6 billion generated by the RV industry of economic development. With that, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Members of the board, thank you. Staff, thank you for giving me the opportunity. I apologize. I don't know how long I went. I did say I was going to be brief, but I wanted to make sure at least I touched upon some of the subjects that I think are going to be very important for your consideration.
Does anyone have any questions? Gentlemen?
I got a couple, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the presentation. How many parks do you currently have under management similar to this?
We're in the process of developing 4. One is 241 units. One is 280 units. We're in the initial phase of one in Pensacola. That'll be similar, but it'll be a mobile home park. It's going to have approximately 115 units. So it's a gradual process.
So there's no parks completed?
No, they are not completed. They're in the development stage.
Would these parks have security at all times, or is that dependent upon the local police force?
No, these are remember, these are parks that are transient in nature. We would own them, similar to a hotel, for example, except that our guests would be able to stay with their RVs. Yes, each one of these parks is going to have round-the-clock security and staff on the grounds, 24/7. One thing I'd like to add, which I did not, and I think it is in my application submittal, because of the unique location of the park, because it sits about 5-6 minutes away from Caesars, 25-30 minutes away from Martinsville on one end, 25-30 minutes away from VIR on the other. One of the things that we have seriously considered is van pooling. Usually, I'm an RVer myself. I'm not sure if any of you may be, but the last thing you want to do is once you travel to a site is get back in a car and go sightseeing or things like that. So one of the things we're seriously considering is van pooling, where we would create routes and ensure that our guests had the ability to go, for example, we've talked about a route to the Danville area, Caesar's Palace, the downtown area, tobacco warehouse here where all the new shops are starting to come back up. There would be another route to go a little further north up on where the Walmart and the Target and all the shopping areas are at. Another route possibly during races that would include Martinsville and VIR. So we've looked at that very seriously, and right now I will say we're about 90% convinced that is the way to go. It will certainly help with respect to the intensity of traffic on Riverside, but more importantly, what it will do is it would allow us the opportunity to take our guests and show them the town. Basically have stops in these areas similar to what actually I saw it today, the City of Danville shuttle does, and it makes frequent stops. Our goal is to be able to get traffic into Caesars, traffic into the downtown area, the shops, the restaurants, traffic, and provide our customers with first-class amenities and everything we can, including transportation. But yes, we'll have security 24/7.
Okay, the facilities that will be inside the park.
I'm sorry?
The facilities that'll be inside the park.
Everything is inside the park.
Yeah, but is that just for your guests for the park, or is it for citizens outside to come
No,
in?
it's like a hotel.
Okay.
You'd have to be registered to stay with us. But yes, it's open to everybody who wishes to come.
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of questions, if I might. Thank you for your presentation. It's very thorough.
Thank you.
Two questions. One, you did mention this is a luxury, high-end resort. Do you happen to have a price point that your resorts on this level range? Because that's really important with the type
We're
of...
debating that as we speak. Our high-end, what we've looked at is what's the market for other comparable resorts, as well as what's the market to our surrounding areas? What do hotel rooms charge along Riverside, which is within close proximity? They have several prices. They have a price package when they call it off-peak or off-season. Then they have, when you've got races at Martinsville, they go through the roof. Last year, I think it was, I was here and I couldn't find a room. I ended up staying at a Super 8, and I said, this will probably be cheap. I ended up paying $168 a night for a Super 8 because I didn't know that one of the races was going on back then. But as far as price points are concerned, you've got, I would venture to guess, and this is just a guess, I don't want to be pinned down to a number yet because the market studies haven't been completed. That's a little further down the road. We're still trying to get this thing approved so we can start working on it. You're looking at probably somewhere between 70 to 90. You're looking from 90 to about 110, and then 120 and up for the luxury sites.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, and also you mentioned that the RVs that come into the park would be stationary for a period of time. Would there be a requirement, say, for a week? Because I'm interested in the amount of traffic.
The one, I'm sorry, I could barely hear.
Yes. Would there be a requirement for the time that a vehicle would come into the park, say, a week at a time?
You mean the length of stay?
Yes.
Okay. No, again, these are all the issues that we have on the table right now. Obviously, during what we would consider peak season, meaning the races and stuff like that, you would have to have a minimum stay, because if you have someone that wants to come in and just stay one day to go to the race and leave. Well, you can't rent that to somebody. It'll break up the opportunity for somebody else who wants to stay a week or the weekend. Races are usually, they happen on one day, but the event takes a whole week. So I would have to assume again that there will be minimum length of stay during, special events, but overall, no. If you want to come in for a day, you're welcome to do it. I'll tell you this, though. As an RVer myself, it's a lot of work getting there, hooking it up, to unhook it the next morning. You're exhausted if you do that in one day.
Right,
Rarely do you see that happen. Minimum stay is usually 3 to 4 days.
great. So my final question is going to piggyback off of that one. So I do hear you mentioning things about races and other events that come to this area. If this resort is more so catering to Caesar's Palace.
To one, I'm having a hard
Okay,
time.
sure. I don't know if I can be turned up or not. Since this facility is going to more so cater to Caesar's Palace, are you looking at some type of length of stay for those individuals that will come there and rent or
Well,
camp?
let me take a step back. It certainly is a project that will facilitate or enhance Caesar's Palace, but it won't be specifically just to enhance Caesar's Palace. I have had several conversations with Stephen Gould, the attorney for Caesar's Palace. We've had very pleasant conversations. We've looked at, he's analyzed a little bit about what we would like to do. I've done the same with them. Obviously, I have some concerns that on the vacant piece of parcel that they're going to leave vacant after they develop the property. I was concerned perhaps they were going to take an RV route, and he assured me that they're not. Those pieces of parcels are for future development of more towers and more hotel rooms. The question is, will we reach some form of an agreement with them where we kind of make it work for their, and I think that's what your question is in regards to length of stay?
Not exactly, because my biggest concern is the in and the out, because this is a residential area surrounding, and I'm looking at...
Where they're coming in and out will be commercial.
Okay,
The entrance, the access is through Riverside, so it's not going to be through Vandola Church Road.
true. What my concern is, when earlier you mentioned that people would be coming in, okay? If you're coming in and you're staying for a length of time, if the facility says, hey, we are offering you to stay here, this is what we require, then I think it would be more palatable for some people to know, okay, well, it won't be a lot of traffic, whatever that's going to look like, versus, okay, some people may want to come in a day, leave a day, because if there's no agreement, then they have the option to do that.
Right.
So I'm just trying to establish what this model is going to look like, because, we do have to, we have a room full of people who I'm sure are going to say something. So that's kind of what I'm trying
Right.
to
Your
hear from
concern,
you.
if I understood you correctly, I think your concern is based off of traffic. In other words, traffic generated due to the length of stay.
Correct.
Okay,
Thank you.
now that I understand you correctly. Again, first of all, RV resorts, you don't come in for a day. You don't come in for a day because it's a lot of hard work setting up the unit, hooking up the unit, the water, sewer, cable, so on and so forth, to do the same thing the next morning and leave. Usually, the check-in times and check-out times are commensurate with hotels. So you'll usually come in, check-in time is probably around noon to 1 o'clock. Checkout time will be probably around 11. That gives you a couple hours to ensure that the site is clean and ready for the next person to come in. Having said that, one is that in the RV industry, you don't stay for a day. Will we consider a minimum stay of, let's say, 3 days or 4 days? Absolutely. That's in our best interest. That would be in our best interest because they would guarantee us more days of stay. But the way the RV industry works is very similar to a certain degree to the hotel industry, which is you make your reservations online and you make your full payment online. So before you arrive, you're paid in full.
Okay. Oh,
And we know your length of stay before you get there.
okay. Thank you. That cleared it up for me.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Any other questions?
I'm trying to learn too, and you're doing a good job, as well as everybody sitting out here. This is certainly new to our area of something this magnitude, and this is why we asking questions. In our packet, we're referring to a campground. Now, my question is, are you going to allow permanent residents, like somebody who wants to live there to rent a space? Or is this a campground, defined campground? It's not for permanent residents. Am I right on that?
That's correct, ma'am. Under the statutes of the Commonwealth of Virginia, campgrounds have to be transient in nature.
Okay.
They can't be permanent. You can only have permanent campgrounds under the mobile home park district, but not under the campground or the RV district.
Because I know housing is very limited in Danville. We've read about it. People of this magnitude coming in are going to be looking for somewhere to stay. So that clarifies that. They cannot stay there.
No. Under Virginia law, it's a transient resort.
Okay.
It cannot be a permanent resort. As a matter of fact, your maximum length of stay can only be 180 days.
Okay. My question is, you talking about the pool, there'd be a lot of noise, children playing. That's only for the summer months here. Of course, you wouldn't have the pool open in the winter. What are you considering hours the pool would close, or would it be open at 2 o'clock in the morning?
Okay. And all of our other development sites, pools close at 8 o'clock.
That's reasonable.
We open at 8 in the morning. As far as the amenities, they close at 8 o'clock. Under the county ordinance, it's 10 o'clock.
And I guess my next question, you're saying right now that you're having 5 units per acre. Do you have a vision of increasing that in the future
No, ma'am.
to more units?
No. As a matter of fact, I think at my first meeting with Ms. Ragsdale, we talked about the possibility of only rezoning half of the property. However, logistically, we couldn't figure out how to do it, because one of the things that are going to be required by fire is going to be an emergency exit, and that's the purpose of the exit down south towards Vandola Church Road. The second thing was that if we only rezoned half of it, the half that would remain R1 would be developed into homes at some point in time. Well, all those homes are going to create greater intensity and noise and traffic on Vandola Church Road than doing it the way we've done. We've given up about 40 acres worth of the land in setbacks, in forestal setbacks. And the reason we did that was twofold. One is we're comfortable at the number of sites we have, but two, and more importantly, is to protect the surrounding neighbors from visual or audio noise that they may encounter, which based on the chart and numbers is going to be non-existent. Simply because of the distance between the noise factors and where the homes are located.
My friends go to Myrtle Beach and they leave their camper on site at this campground. When they get ready to go to the beach, instead of hauling it back and forth, they call and they hook it up, they have it ready. Is this in any way anything y'all considering to do, or is it all RVs?
I didn't quite understand your question. I think you're talking about a camper that someone left and
Yes.
I couldn't hear you properly. An RV is considered either a travel trailer, which is a trailer that hooks up to the back of a truck, or a mobile home. It's either a Class A, Class C, or travel trailer. Class C are the smaller ones that look like your car rental vans that take you to the airport. That would be like a Class C. Class A are your large motorhomes. Travel trailers are the ones you hook up to the back. As long as you're a registered guest, for the length of your stay, obviously you can leave your RV or whatever it is your vehicle is at the resort. Upon the expiration of your stay, you have to take everything with you.
Okay. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions for this gentleman? All right, if you'd have a seat, sir, we got some folks that want to comment, and you'll be able to come back, all right?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. James Howerton. Mr. Howerton, come around. Good evening, sir. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name's James Howerton. I live at 580 Bandola Church Road. I'm here to oppose this rezoning for many reasons, but I'll just give a few of my main ones. I'm concerned about the large vehicles being on a small road, narrow road we have running through that, real quiet neighborhood. I'm concerned about the noise and the large vehicles that will be coming in and out of there all times of day and night. I'm concerned about the danger of fire in the middle of those woods on a dry period of time that we do have a lot of times. And I'm concerned about the amount of trash that will be blowing everywhere from all those campgrounds and or vehicles or whatever they are. I couldn't understand half what he said. I got lost in all of them 20 and 30 and 40 feet that he was talking about, but that's just some of my main concerns. My wife and my family and I, we all oppose this campground being in our area. Thanks for listening.
You're totally welcome, sir. Thank you. Have a good evening. Dan Fuller? Come around, sir. Good evening. Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me the time to talk. We're recently new to the Bandola Church Road area. We moved from Washington State. One of the reasons we moved was to get away to a quieter area. So one of the concerns that was among myself and my family is obviously the noise, also the water. I know a majority, if not all, of Bandola Church is on wells. I don't know what this is going to do to our well waters. Safety is a big one. I don't know if you noticed, but on the slide, one of the properties that was in blue is my property. There's a trail that leads to the back of my property that goes through the 33 acres next to us, right up to the campground. What's to say one night somebody coming back from the casino drunk, or some kid gets away from his family, starts taking down the trail. We're starting to raise cattle. We have horses, we have animals. We're putting up an electric fence. What's to say somebody doesn't stumble across that electric fence or feeds our cattle something they're not supposed to eat? I don't want to go out in the middle of the day and find somebody laying in my field or find one of my animals laying in the field. I know also a lot of the people on Bandola Church Road have dogs. We have 7 ourselves. We like to let them run. We have 20 acres that they run around in. If my dog sees something in the back field, they like to run for it. That goes along with if somebody wanders across my property line. So that's just also the trash. Also wondering what this might do to our property taxes. I pay enough already as it is. I'm not saying that Danville or Pittsylvania County doesn't need an RV resort. I'm just saying Bandola Church Road doesn't need one right now. We like the peace and quiet. Thank you for your time.
Totally welcome,
Thank you, sir.
Marvin Hilton? Evening, Marvin. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. I appreciate it. I apologize I didn't have a lot of time to prepare for this, so doesn't have a whole lot, but I share all the same concerns that everybody else has. Number one, I'm very concerned what it's going to do to the property value. You know, do we have any information or any data? How does this affect property, the adjoining property value? Also very concerned about the safety as well. And the noise, all those numbers we had on the noise was generated from the main area, but, you know, the campers, the way it looked to me, all the perimeter road went right up adjacent, 80 feet buffer to Vandola Church Road. So we're going to have campers all along Vandola Church Road. So yeah, I'm sure they're going to be joining, you know, creating noise, and they like to party and have fun, and, you know, are we going to have a quiet time? You know, what time's all that going to shut down? So, but yeah, really concerned about what it's going to do to the value of the property. So, thank you.
Thank you. Tara Clayton. Good evening, Ms. Clayton. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Tara Clayton. I'm on the Westover District. I'm also a resident of Vandola Church Road. A few things I wanted to talk about that he did not speak of, the noise impact. I myself am an RVer. I've always had an RV or a motorhome, tag-along, fifth wheel. Even though they are parked, they still make noise. You do have, a lot of them have generators. Although we do have electric sites, I'm sure these sites will have electric. Fans from you're going to have 454 fans generating from an air conditioning. My cousin owns a heating and air conditioning business. They make noise. Second of all, I know the main entrance, primary entrance, is going to be on the 58 side. However, people don't follow directions very well coming up our bypass off of the Oak Ridge Farms Road. They got tired of putting up the stop sign at the end of our road because they got tore down so many times by the tractor-trailer trucks that they finally just did away with it. I'm sure you can put all the signs that you want to, that you can't enter from there, but it's going to be somebody that's going to follow that GPS, and they're going to try to get in up our narrow road. An RV myself, my last one was 28 foot. I prayed to God I didn't meet anybody on the road because somebody was running out of the road when I tried to get up. I am 1.1 miles from the bypass to get into my driveway. And that is, the noise does bother me. But what bothers me some too, and what he brought up, is the electric grid. Is this going to put a strain on our electric grid? We're going to be pulling electricity. They pull a lot of amps. You're hooking up your sewage. You've got a TV running. A lot of them have 2 air conditioning units. You have a front and a rear. Most of your fifth wheels, they'll have 2. Smaller ones that you spoke of as the Class A or the Class B will have 1 air conditioning unit. So you've got 454, if it's packed, noises that's going to make noise of a constant run. A siren will go by you in probably, 3 seconds? I'm not sure. I've never done the studies on them, but it's not a constant noise. We're going to have that constant noise of 454. Now, I've lived there since 1994. We enjoy the peace and quiet. We have cattle below us. We have donkeys. We have goats. Is this going to impact these farms that are raising cattle? Also, I run across the safety. He spoke of it being a transient. I worry about the safety of our neighborhood, our children going to school. Is this going to impact our children as far as the safetiness, or me as general as far as safetiness? I don't want anybody coming across over my land. I don't want anybody coming in drunk from a casino. That does bother me. So it's not just so much, but the electric grid is something I'm running out of time that I really want to concentrate on. Is it going to affect our electric grid? We already have a lot of power outages up there. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I do a follow-up with her?
Yes, Tara.
I'm not an RVer, so I'm new to this.
Come back to where you can answer.
Yeah,
Come back,
right.
Please, Tara. I want you to come back where you can answer. If you have to answer this.
I have an answer.
I'm not an RVer, so I don't, all this is new to me. The parks that you have stayed in, what type of localities are they in? Or are they similar to where you live, or no?
No, a lot of them are not near residential neighborhoods. Hico Lake is one that I stay in. Now, in reference to how long you can stay there, she wanted to know how long you can stay there, because we don't want people living there on a permanent. We have to, anyway, that gets to something else. You can stay there up to 30 days. It is not near a residential. You do come in, it is a residential across the lake and down the road from it. I think it is a small development across from it. You have Ocean Lakes that is really heavily. You have Myrtle Beach Park, Newbern. We have been to Emerald Isle. In fact, one of our residents that just spoke, they have a place at Emerald Isle.
But would you
And
say these areas that you've been in is similar to where this proposal is
Ocean
being
Lakes would
made?
probably be the closest, because I think Ocean Lakes has, 200 and some acres. And they have permanent home sites as well. And in the summertime, when you are there, they also have a water park inside Ocean Lakes. When you are there, and they have quiet time from 11 p.m. until 7 a.m. But you don't have and the traffic flow per there, and if anybody's ever been to Ocean Lakes, you're at a stoplight, you're at an intersection. Good luck getting through there during your high-end months or any time between May and October. You don't even want to go down that road to even try to get there. As far as the noise ordinance, it does quiet down. They do have security inside the park, which is a big plus. However, you still have a lot of noise that's coming from there. You've got another campground on the side of it. No residentials near that, and it's off of a main thoroughfare, Highway 17.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Renee Eccles. Renee Eccles. Good evening, Ms. Eccles, and welcome.
Thank you. I'm here tonight because my family and I, and a lot of the Eccles families, have been on the Vandola Church Road for over 30 years. Our church is there. We already have the Vandola Church Road, which is narrow as it is. We don't want this. If we wanted this type of lifestyle, we would be in a park. We would be somewhere else. But we have been in this area for over 30 years. We have raised all of our kids in this area. The idea of bringing in this type of situation, we would not want this. We wouldn't want it for our grandkids that are coming. We wouldn't want it for us. It's not the lifestyle that we want to have. Like I say, the Vandola Church Road is already crowded because it's not very wide. When you meet another vehicle, you need to be prepared to slow down. Those of us who have lived on the Vandola Church Road, they're all aware of this. It's a small community. We want it to stay a small community. We don't want these highfalutin campers coming up and down when we're trying to come out of our driveway to go on about our day. And that's basically, I feel like this campground that they're calling Caesar's is part of the longer plan of what's going on downtown. You know, the city can do what the city wants to do, but we don't want this. And I want to make sure that that is being heard, that we do not want this. You know, our house is an acre and a half off of the main road. We're down at the bottom by ourselves, and most of the houses, they're the same way. And we're opposing it, and we don't want this to pass. So thank you for listening to me and giving you something to think about.
Thank you, ma'am. By the way, anybody have any questions for Ms. Eccles? Thank you, ma'am. Irvin Moss. Good evening, Mr. Moss. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, sir.
Welcome.
I hope you are. Thank you for letting me have this opportunity to voice my concerns. I feel like David facing Goliath here tonight. I feel like a little man facing big money. We all know this is all about big money. This is not about a community that has been zoned residential, and all of a sudden we got big money want to come in. I'm sick and tired of people thinking the casino is the answer to all our problems. It's not. Our speaker here, he alluded to God help us. I've never heard God endorse gambling, the casino. My Bible says the love of money is the root of all evil. But getting back to the point, I'm 65 years old. I've lived in the Vandola community all my life. We have 2 churches there. Everybody has grown up, hardworking individuals, tax-paying individuals, and we do not want this in our community. It's beyond me how you can even consider this individual with no track record. I mean, they haven't even got one park in completion, and you're going on his track record. Need I remind you of Lake Sugar Tree? Can I remind you of the fiasco of the rock concert at White Oak Mountain? Can I remind you of the Mega Center out on Berry Hill Road, where millions and millions of taxpayers have been going somewhere for 10 years, and not the first industry there? Wake up, people. This is not for us. We're a residential community. We have, we've got the Danville Expressway, we've got the Berry Hill Road, we got Westover Drive, we've got 58 business, we've got the Vandola, we've got 5 roads conglomerating there, and traffic isn't gonna be no problem. No, not a problem at all. My goodness. I have tractor trailers coming down and turning around on my dead-end road now. What's up with that? Explain that to me. And not gonna have any problem? Sure we're not. Man, this just blows me away. The Vandola Road, Vandola Church Road, is a residential community. It's been zoned that way, and we're holding it to the members of this council to keep it that way. Thank you very much.
Annie Mosby. Good evening, Ms. Mosby. Welcome.
Good afternoon, and thank you for letting me speak tonight. I am here because I am representative of the African American community on Callahan Hill Road. It's on 58 West, just before you get to the Berry Hill exit. My grandfather bought over 100 acres of land there over 100 years ago. And I am a landowner there, and I am the executor of my family estate. And I also am the relatives of the Galloways, the Smiths, and we've been there for over 100 years. On Vandola Church Road is Mount Lebanon Baptist Church. On that road, my family owns land on both sides of the highway. The Galloway land is right behind Mr. Cuban's land. We do not want this resort in our neighborhood. For one thing is that about 25 years ago, the Virginia Department of Transportation cut off our only exit out of that community from Callahan Hill Road. We do not have an exit out. The only exit that we have out of that community is by the trash dump that comes out on Berry Hill Road. When those people come from Martinsville and come from North Carolina, they are going to exit off of Berry Hill Road, straight down Vandola Road, straight onto Vandola Church Road, and the people that are in the cul-de-sac on Callahan Hill Road, which I have property that my parents left me, and the Galloways, we have no exit out. And we do not want this casino in our neighborhood. Thank you.
ma'am. Any questions? Thank you, Ms. Atkins. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Gary Clark. Good evening, Mr. Clark. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Mr. Cubbs, thank you for the presentation this evening, very informative. I'd like to go on the record. Gary Clark, Westover District, lived on Vandola Church Road since 1986. Would like to go on record as opposing this current program. I feel that we would generate an untenable level of traffic on our street, as we have no current numbers about that, but we feel like it would be more than what we'd want to handle. I think we would also overwhelm our local emergency services. We have a small volunteer fire department in our neighborhood. We have Pennsylvania County Sheriff's Department. They all do us a fine service, but I think, with this many residents being there on a temporary basis, we would have, based on just crime statistics, by having a larger number of people, we do have a larger quantity of crime. Having transient people there, I think we would bring to our quite bucolic neighborhood an element that we just don't want. Having lived there and enjoyed the quietness and the serenity, a campground is just not in keeping with what we feel like is our current, issue. It would be totally quality of life issues. I don't know that we have the infrastructure. That would certainly be beyond the pale of what I can speak to, but we do have a lot of power issues in our neighborhood already. I think the biggest one, as you've already heard, would be traffic. We have traffic issues there now. People cut through there coming off of the bypass. I do know that he would recommend that people come to the facility off of 58, but GPS brings you off of the bypass onto Vandola Church Road. So 14-foot roadway, Class A motorhome does not like being on a 14-foot roadway with the rest of us. So as I said, I would like to go on record as opposition, just as I feel like we don't have adequate infrastructure and we just don't want this going on in our little neighborhood, that we would like to maintain the quality of life that we've all become so accustomed to. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Jay Sandy. Jay.
Speak into the mic.
I'm sorry. Welcome. Jay.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate that councilman's question about their history. And I think you all need to explore that. Not that they're not able and not that they're not capable, but they don't have a track record. Also, something you might want to consider is its proximity to the city and the potential of the city to annex it, and the county would lose all that tax benefit that he might claim we get. And when he said 450 units, if it was, say, 60% occupied, that's 300 vehicles. Now, they don't move the RVs in and out to go where they want to go, and I know he offered shuttles, but those 300 temporary residents would bring another vehicle. So you'd have an RV and a car going in and out and creating traffic issues. And I'd like to reiterate what was said about the potential for contaminated water, because I have a well also. And I'm in the picture, I'm the first house on Vandola Church near him. And I also reiterate we have animals that get to run loose. I wouldn't feel comfortable with that with the RVs back there. And when we use the word itinerants or transients, they're not poor. They're driving expensive RVs. I looked into them. They're very expensive. So they're not necessarily, transients as in potential criminals, but just imagine all those people right back there. And when he referenced the noise, the sound, he did only refer to the restaurant and the area. You've got 300 people all outside their RVs. I've gone camping some, and it's a noisy experience outside your RVs. And people, if they're not going to the casino, if they're hanging out at their RVs, then they're, maybe sitting in the yard with the music on, and you multiply that by 100. And I don't know the decibel level that would create, and I don't know if an 80-foot buffer would do it, but I fear for the community when that comes. I recognize that maybe Pittsylvania County could use an RV park like that, but maybe they could find a more rural area where there's a little more agricultural land to use. There are parts of the county that are less congested than our area. And my time's up. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Appreciate it. Vivian Jefferson. Hey, Ms. Jefferson, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for this 3 minutes. I live on in Oak Ridge Farms, which is across the little bridge, and that's development that's across from the Vandola Church Road. In 2005, my husband and I built a house because it was quiet. It was rural, but it wasn't so far that if we needed to get to town for things, it wouldn't be a problem. It's not quiet anymore. Every year it has gotten more noisy already. We have been subjected to VDOT, putting that road through that's coming through our neighborhood or is adjacent to our neighborhood. So we're having to put up with that. Went to a meeting for that. Might as well have been just twiddling my thumbs in the parking lot for all the good it did. And so I'm hoping that you all will hear us. We don't want this. 454 spaces. We're not talking about 60 spaces or 30 spaces. I'm not an RVer. I've never stayed at an RV park. But I doubt that most of them are 454 spaces. I worry about the electrical. I worry about what's going to happen with the rest of our utilities. What about all the wildlife that's in our area? Everybody is talking about climate change and in the environment and all of our animals that are on the endangered species list. And we're just going to wipe all that out. We're going to change our way of life. When I heard about this last Friday, I thought, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to move. So I'm supposed to just give up my home that I spent my life savings on because this has been kind of, excuse me, but shoved down our throats. And I don't want this. I also worry about the burden on our medical community. I know people are not going to come planning to be sick, but we are in dire straits in our medical community here as it is. We have long waits. Things are shut. That they're supposed to be open, but you go and they're shut because they closed at 12 o'clock on Friday or whatever. It's really something to consider, bringing all those extra people and all that noise. And I vote for myself and my neighbors no. So I appreciate your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone we missed? Okay. Mr. Cooper?
Gentleman right there.
Sir? Yes, sir. You sign up? Come around, sir. Good evening, sir, and welcome.
My name?
Yes, sir, please.
Kenneth Russell. I live on Vandola Church Road, right across
Wait,
from
turn
this,
that mic up just a little bit. There you go. Good. Thank you, sir.
right across the street from this campground. And right now, the gentleman said that we could have up to 40-some decibels. Right now, I got nothing. Except if you walk out, you might hear them little bugs that, make a little chirping noise at night. I'm concerned with being able to sleep at night because especially my wife, she's a light sleeper. She can hear a mouse crawl across the floor if one wants to go across. But I've just bought that home and built that home in 1984, and I've been living there. I'm 79 years of age, and I don't want to have to pack up and move because I can't sleep at night. And next thing is taxes. Are they going to go up? I'm living on a fixed income. Taxes go up, I might have to move then. And the next question comes up, would this be annexed by the city of Danville? I know my taxes would go up then. And that's all I've got to say.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Cooper, come around, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to address some of the concerns that the neighbors have posed. Obviously, there's some that are, I think, within our control and we can address, and others are not. It was very difficult for me to get the names, so I kind of put gentleman 1 or gentleman 2 or lady 4, lady 5. It seems to me, obviously, that the major concern is along Vandola Church Road and the residents that live on Vandola Church Road. When we designed this resort, when you look at the site plans, you'll see that it has one exit on Vandola Church Road. We didn't want that exit there. We've said from the very beginning that access is going to come from Riverside, not from Vandola Church Road. I understand the concerns of a lady who stood up and said that they were going to get off at an exit that would come down, I guess, the back and enter through Vandola Church Road. And I understand. I share those concerns. I fully understand them. However, we are more than happy to eliminate any access to Vandola Church Road. We did not want it in the first place. The only reason it was added is because from our prior experience, emergency services would always want a secondary exit for emergency services, police and fire. But the access and traffic generated by the resort should come directly off of Riverside. This would eliminate, I think, about 90% of the concerns that have been shared here today. Very valid concerns. One of the issues that was brought up is safety. I think that if we take access from Riverside, eliminate any traffic on Vandola Church Road, eliminating the access in the back, there won't be an issue with safety any longer in Vandola. The young lady who stood up and made a comment about have you looked at the electrical grid? Well, let me remind you, the property as it sits today, by right, you can build 396 homes. The electrical requirements per home, minimum it's 150 or 200 amp electrical box per home. The RV industry, it's an electrical box that has a combination of 50 amps for the large RVs and motorhomes and 30 amps for the smaller mobile homes or the smaller travel trailers. So from an electrical grid standpoint, the RV resort will consume less electricity than if you build the number of homes that the comprehensive plan and code allows you to build today, zoned as R1. Young lady stood up and spoke about lifestyle. Again, she lives on Vandola Church Road, and she spoke about Caesars. I assume that was Caesar's Palace. Again, if we eliminate the entrance off Vandola, we eliminate 90% of the issues, which are legit, in my opinion, by these neighbors on Vandola. We don't want to disrupt their lifestyle. We don't want to generate traffic anywhere near their properties. As far as Caesars, let me remind you, Caesars was approved by the voters of this community. Or by the state. I'm sorry?
City of Danville.
State of Danville. Okay. Okay. Gentleman stood up and said, big money. Big money coming in, because he was 65 years old and knew nothing about my track record. I'm 62 years old. I'm the son of immigrants, born and raised low to middle class. Worked my rear end off to provide for my family and be here today. My track record, I started in this industry at the age of 15 when I started dating my wife of 42 years, and her father brought me and introduced me to this industry. I'm 62. You do the math. Gentleman stood up concerned about his cattle. The cattle wander off, and he's concerned that the cattle may be in jeopardy if they go into an RV resort. Well, that's a very legitimate concern. It is the gentleman's cattle, and he's responsible for his property and keeping his cattle within his property.
That's enough from the audience. Go ahead, Mr. Cooper.
Gentleman stood up and raised concerns about contamination to the water, and that he has a well, and I believe he said he also has cattle. As I said before, and as the comprehensive plan dictates, you have to have water and sewer services to be able to develop this. Water and sewer will be provided by the city, since they are the ones that have brought water and sewer to the proximity of the property, and they service property owners of Pittsylvania County in that area. Young lady stood up who indicated she has a farm and built her house in 2005, and again, these are all very valid concerns. She talked about 454 spaces. The burden on the electrical grid, utilities, the wildlife, the environment, the endangered species, and the medical community. The electrical grid, as I stated before, very comparable. As a matter of fact, if you build the number of houses that R1 allows you to build on that property, you'll have a greater electrical demand than if you would with the RV resort. Utilities, my conversations with the utilities department, the city of Danville, they're all nearby and can be serviced. Talked about wildlife and the environment. Property is in Zone X. There are no watersheds. To my knowledge, there's no issues with the environment to this point. She spoke about endangered species. I'm not going to comment on that because I'm not an expert in that area. And she talked about the load on our medical community. The RV resort is very similar to a hotel. From the standpoint, when I say transient, I mean they're coming here to stay temporarily, just like we would otherwise do at a hotel. As a matter of fact, by statute, it can't be permanent. Unfortunately, when you go on vacation and you get sick, you need medical attention. But it would be the same medical attention that any tourist would need if he goes to Caesars and gets sick, if he goes to Walmart and gets sick, goes to the Olive Garden and gets sick. The last gentleman raised issues that built this house in 1974, and he raised the issues on Vandola Church Road. And again, I fully understand that. He talked about being able to sleep at night and taxes. RV resorts have to follow the code. If they do not follow the code, if they do not follow the ordinance, the county or the city will shut you down. The ordinance stipulates that from 10 o'clock till 7 a.m. is quiet time. There can be no movement, no traffic, no party, no screaming. None of that can occur during that period of time. Because if there is, the county or the police will shut you down. And in conclusion, again, I believe that most of these concerns, which are very valid, are along Vandola Church Road. We're more than happy to eliminate the exit on Vandola Church Road and use the access off of Riverside through the commercial properties that are alongside Riverside, and further shield and protect the concerns of the neighbors. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Does anyone have any other questions for Mr. Q?
I've got a couple, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Waters, yes, sir.
Will this resort be enclosed with a fencing or any type of fencing at all? Or is it just open and cows can come in, dogs can come in? And
Well, if we need to fence it up, we will. Obviously, that is a protection that goes both ways. We want to make sure that safety and security is a key issue for all of our guests, as well as for our neighbors. But it's pretty difficult to control cows or dogs from neighbors roaming into someone else's property. At least we can't control that. I don't think anybody here can.
Another question, I may have not understood this correctly in your presentation. Did you say you have 68 acres currently zoned A1?
Abutting to the property, yes. No, I don't have them. They're on the GIS map. There's
Okay.
68 acres of A1 that abut to the...
It's not in your proposal?
No, it's in the presentation to show
Yeah,
the
but
fact that it's compatible.
That's not your land, though. That's not your land.
No, sir. No,
Okay.
no, it's not.
Okay. That's all.
Any other further questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
At 8:38, case 22-029 is closed to public hearing. Ms. Meese.
This is not in my district. I think we've heard a wonderful presentation today, trying to make us understand. The rebuttal remarks were very good. I think what the people are facing is either a campground with 450 units, sort of part-time, not constantly, or future. We all know that Caesar's Palace is going to make some changes in the Danville area and the surrounding areas, no doubt about that. It's coming. Or a possibility of 396 homes possibly could be built in this area, and that would be permanent. That would bring more people there. That was a good point. We're here tonight to approve rezoning only. The final decision will come with a special use permit and a hearing for that. So in case R-22-029, I make a recommendation that the rezoning be changed from R1 to A1. Make a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors.
Motion by Ms. Meese. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Ms. Henderson. Is there any further discussion? Not, we're ready for a vote. Let the record show 5 yes and 3 no's. So in case R-22-029, the rezoning of 90.08 acres from R1 to A1 will be recommended to the Board of Supervisors. At 841, case R-22-030 is open for public hearing. Ms. Ragsdale.
Case R-22-030, Randall and Tammy Rich have petitioned to rezone 10 acres located on State Road 878, Stony Mill School Road, in the Tunstall Election District from R1 Residential Suburban Subdivision District to A1 Agricultural District to allow for a Class B home occupation. Once the property is rezoned to A1, all uses listed under Section 35-178 are permitted. The staff summary is enclosed in the board packet. Mr. Chairman, Randall Rich is here to represent the petition.
Come around, Mr. Good evening, sir. Is there anything that you'd like to add that we do not have in the packet, sir?
I'm just here to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for this gentleman? Okay, thank you, sir. At 8:42, case R-22-030 is closed to public hearing. Mr. Oaks.
Mr. Chairman, in case R-22-030, I make a motion that we change the zoning from R1 to A1 to allow for a Class B home and an upholstery shop.
Motion by Mr. Oaks. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Meese. Any further discussion? If not, we're ready for a vote. Let the record show 8 yes and 0 no that case R-22-030, rezone 10 acres from R1 to A1 be recommended to the Board of Supervisors. At 8:43, case 22-031 is open for public hearing. Ms. Ragsdale.
Case R-22-031, the City of Danville has petitioned to rezone 6.05 acres located on State Road 708 Long Circle in the Tunstall Election District from R1 Residential Suburban Subdivision District to A1 Agricultural District to allow the property to be consolidated with an adjacent parcel zoned A1. Once the property is rezoned to A1, all uses listed under Section 35-178 are permitted. The staff summary is enclosed in the board packet. Mr. Chairman, I do not believe that a representative from the city is here. I could be wrong, but if I'm not, then I'll be happy to answer any questions.
No one here from the city? Any question for Ms. Ragsdale? Not at 844, case R22-031 is closed to public hearing. Mr. Oaks, I believe you're back in the run, man.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend in case R-22-031 that we change zoning from R1 to A1 so the city of Danville can consolidate their property.
Second the motion.
Motion by Mr. Oaks, second by Mr. Horn. Any further discussion? Not, we're ready for a vote. Gary,
It ain't come up yet.
oh, it hadn't? It's gone completely now. There we go.
It still ain't come up, yes. Just put down yes.
No, it's on your motion, move. The mover. Move it, the blue, green one. Second by,
Me.
is yours coming up? Yeah, that is. Let the record show 8 yes and 0 no that case R22-031, rezone 6.5 acres from R1 to A1 be recommended to the Board of Supervisors. 846, case S22-020 is open for public hearing. Ms. Ragsdale.
Case S-22-020, Old Dominion Agricultural Foundation Incorporated has petitioned for a special use permit on 3 parcels totaling 20.71 acres located on U.S. Highway 29 in the Bannister Election District for a private event venue. The staff summary is enclosed in the board packet. Mr. Chairman, I believe Bethany Lackey is here to represent the petition. She may not be. So I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
What have they been operating under previously?
So they are zoned M2, which is an industrial classification. So they are technically operating as an arena. So the events that they hold themselves are permitted, but a private event venue requires a special use permit. So when they rent it out,
Okay.
and for private parties and things like that, that would be in violation of the zoning ordinance without the special use permit.
Thank you.
I wondered the exact same thing.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any comments?
I'd like to comment. I think ODAC's probably one of the best things that's happened to this county and its surrounding area as far as agriculture events. And I feel like this was just an oversight. And so we need to get them to where they can have any kind of event that they want.
Anyone else? At 8:48, case S22-020 is closed to public hearing. Ms. Henderson.
Yes, sir. In the case of S-22-020, I do make a recommendation that we approve or recommend to BZA for the special use permit.
Motion by Ms. Henderson. A second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Meeks. Any further discussion? Not, we're ready for a vote. Is someone missing 7? Waiting on me. Let the record show 8 yes and 0 no. The case S-22-20, a special use permit involving 20-plus acres for special event facility be recommended to the Board of Zoning Appeal. We need about a 10-minute break before we start with the soil. Reopen it?
You will once he,
Okay.
I think he's good now.
Testing 1, 2. At 8:58, case S-22-021 is open for public hearing. Ms. Ragsdale.
Case S-22-021, Hopewell Solar LLC has petitioned for a special use permit on 2,578.49 acres located on State Road 834 Hopewell Road, State Road 718 Dry Fork Road, State Road 1044 Beech Nut Road, State Road 1099 Hilton Lane, State Road 772 Daniel Court in the Tunstall Election District, and the Chatham Blair's Election District for a utility-scale solar energy facility. The staff summary is enclosed in the board packet. Mr. Chairman, Tony Dyerly is here to represent the petition.
What's his last, Mr. Darling? Come around, sir. Good evening. Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you very much. Awesome. Thank you very much for having us tonight. Good evening. I can assure you that we're going to definitely keep this condensed a little bit, try to be as clear and concise as possible. Everything that we're going to present tonight, you guys are going to find in your packet, so we're not going to harp on too much of this stuff. So we want to hit some of these highlights and then save most of the time for questions and answers from you folks. Again, my name is Tony Dyerly. I'm a project developer for Sun Tribe Development. We are here to request, obviously, the approval of a special use permit for Hopewell Solar in the Hopewell district, or Hopewell community. Just a couple of little things about Sun Tribe. We are a Virginia-based company, Charlottesville, Virginia to be exact. I like to think that we're in your backyard and we're somewhat neighbors. I'm from Roanoke, Virginia originally, so I've been coming down here to races since I was a little kid down in Martinsville in the area. So been down here for a while. I think that the biggest thing that I want you guys to get from this presentation, and it's very important to me and it's very important to my colleagues that I brought with me today, is that we are very much a community-based solar developing company. We've spent this last year developing this project and working with adjacent landowners and working with the current landowners to make this thing as much out of sight, out of mind as possible. That's not an easy thing to do, but I think after we finish presenting today, I think you guys are going to see that we've done a really good job of that, and we'll continue to do that. Just to kind of start off on the right foot, I brought a couple of people with me today. John Marrier, who will speak here in a little bit. Our CEO, Danny Van Cleef's here, and then Jeff Suttle, our Vice President of Development. Why did I bring so many? Because I want to make sure, there you go. I want to make sure that we're able to answer all of your questions today and make sure you can make an informed decision. Sorry about that. There you go. Guess you guys want to see the project, right? All right, so really quick project overview. What this is 149, up to 149 megawatt project located in Pittsylvania County. One thing that is really important that we want you guys to see today is that we have well over 2,000 acres under site control. Of those 2,000 acres, 1,400 is actually considered the project area. And as if you move on down, we're looking at about 900 acres of actual solar panels. So why is that important? We're talking about more than half of the acres that we have, or less than half of what we're doing is actually going to be solar panels. That's huge. We've designed this thing for the purpose of being able to work with adjacent landowners, provide additional setbacks, make sure that we're taking care of wildlife corridors, and et cetera. So by doing this, or by showing that we're not using all that land, I think that we're showing that. I've had the opportunity to show a couple of you in person of the project, and where we're mitigating certain issues in certain areas where it might be in the view shed, and we've made some changes to the plan with that. One really quick point that will be brought up later on, the project substation and also the switching yard. We've done a lot of work, and we're actually really excited to present the fact that both the substation and the switch yard, are in very remote areas of this project. They won't be adjacent to any landowners. They're not adjacent to any right-of-way or roadways. Next, moving on to the siting agreement that we just accomplished back in December. This is something that kind of separates this project from others in the past. Back in December, we got into an agreement with the Board of Supervisors. As you guys can see from the slide, this project, over the course of the 35 years of this project, is going to bring almost $12.2 million to the county. Well, in addition to that, the 9.7 of that is going to be front-loaded in the first 15 years. So the county's going to see that revenue very quickly in this development process. One thing, or a couple things that you're not seeing on here is the indirect revenue from the project, people, hotels, restaurants, et cetera. Well, a lot of developers are going to talk about that, but I'd like to say the proof is in the pudding. We've already hired on a local survey company that is local here that has already started doing survey work for us. In addition to that, we've got a local timber company that's going to help us with the project. They've actually included a letter of support that you guys probably saw in your packet. Moving on to the next thing, and we'll talk more about this later on in the project, but and in addition to that, you've also got tax revenue, property taxes, and rollback taxes that will be paid out because of taking out of land use. So there's those benefits as well. Buffering and setbacks. I'm going to kind of leave this one a little bit for questions for later on, but I just want to point out the fact that we will adhere to all of staff conditions on these setbacks and these bufferings. We have also, you'll notice that our panels are set back 500 to 1,000 feet from adjacent residences, minimum setbacks of 150 from all property lines. And then again, I told you guys about the project substation and the switching yard, which is, outside of, or just in remote areas. One cool thing about this was what I was explaining earlier with how much land we had under site control and actually how much we're actually using for the project. When we did our community meeting, we had several community members come in and obviously had concerns about their view shed. Well, we have worked with those individually, each one of those individually, and we've actually changed our concept plan. We've pulled back our concept plan and increased some of these buffers to sometimes 1,000 feet. Some of our landowners that are a part of this project have been so gracious and understanding of their neighbors that they have conceded that and said, yes, let's pull that back. Let's pull that back. We don't want so-and-so to have to look at that. That's something that we can hold very dear and very close. I think it's extremely important. We've also had landowners, unfortunately, that have come to us and wanted to be a part of the project. Sadly, we've had to turn them away because it doesn't go with what we're trying to accomplish. A great solar facility like this, if you can hide it and not have too much impact on the community, that's what everybody wants. And so just want to, as we talk about the buffering and setbacks, I just want you to know the flexibility that we've shown already. Move next, sorry. Environmental and wildlife. This one's extremely important to me. Obviously, I wouldn't be in this role if I didn't care about the environment. But just want to hit on a couple important things. One, after construction is complete, we plan on implementing native grasses, and we're also planning on pollinator species where practical. We're also in the process of researching solar grazing on certain aspects of this project, so we're still researching that. One interesting dynamic about this project, and it was something that we noticed from the very beginning that we're really proud to present, is that there are a lot of natural wildlife corridors within the project that we're not going to touch. And as you look into if you look into the packet, not necessarily on this PowerPoint because it's, I can blow it up, but so much, but you'll notice that we're preserving those to the best of our ability. In addition to those wildlife corridors, with all of that extra acreage that I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, that leaves all vegetative, mature trees on the outskirts of this project that we don't need to use. Well, we're not going to use it if we don't have to. Well, that means the wildlife and the environment's going to be protected in those situations. We're only going to remove what we need to remove. We're also in a good situation with this project as you dive into the weeds, no pun intended. There's a lot of natural vegetative buffer already in place that we won't have to mess with. You can't really talk about the environment if you don't talk about safety, so I thought I'd just bring this up here. I've been working with the volunteer fire department at Dry Fork, and we've already implemented a plan. We're at the beginning stages of a plan where we're going to do fire and safety training pre-construction, during construction, and post-construction. And I think from my understanding of projects that you guys have had in the past, I think Pittsylvania County as a whole could definitely use that. So we want to get that started and make sure that that's moving forward. Okay, so I mentioned John Mary. He's my engineer. He'll go into the weeds with some of the engineering aspect of it, but I want him to take over for a couple seconds. Thank you.
Welcome, John.
Absolutely. Thank you. Good evening. One aspect of this project that's absolutely critical is that we've been able to secure our preferred path to get the power back from our array areas to the AEP transmission line. And as you can see on the site plan, the project substation is off any major road setback behind natural vegetation, as well as the switch yard also tucked back off of major roadways. As a Virginia-based company, we're very in tune with the requirements of stormwater management and erosion sediment control. And we will be working with the county and DEQ in securing those permits prior to breaking ground. The main thing is that we have the land to work with. We have the over 2,000 acres. So we'll be able to be selective and thoughtfully locate all stormwater controls in a way that works with the topography and works with the adjacent land and natural drainages. As far as our access, on the site plan, you'll see that we have numerous access points to get into the project, all of our distinct array areas. Really access, traffic, only an issue for the limited time of construction. Post-construction, where the site's largely operated remotely, and you've got, access for grounds maintenance and periodic inspections. And so it's really just a matter of getting through that construction period. I'm really looking forward to addressing any of you all's comments and questions, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, John. All right, I'll actually work it this time. All right, and then really wrapping it up with the presentation aspect of things. Obviously, an important part from you guys' perspective is obviously the construction, operation, and decommissioning. I just want to hit on a couple things. Sun Tribe acknowledges and understands that the construction period of any development project, whether it be solar, whether it be a strip mall, campground, or whatever it might be, those can oftentimes cause a strain on the local community. And we hear you, we see it, we're watching, observing, and learning every day. And I can tell you that as we go and move forward with this process, that's going to be extremely important to us as well. The construction of this project will take about 12 to 18 months. We've established a traffic plan that will continue to evolve as we move forward. And any other conditions that are in both the staff report and then also in the PBR process that we'll have to adhere to. We'll make sure that we do that as well to make sure that we're good stewards and good neighbors to this community. We do agree with all conditions with the exception of one. Number 15, we are asking for an amendment to number 15, which is the expiration of the special use permit. You guys have implemented a 3-year expiration, which typically is okay, which is fine for us, but there's some items that are out of our control with interconnection industry-wide, not just with us, that we would just like to have the flexibility to go to staff and request an additional year. Of course, we'll have to have a valid reason for why we're asking for that, but we would like for that approval to go through staff. And again, if we don't need it, we won't approach staff about that. All right, and then wrapping up this evening's presentation, just a couple key takeaways that are extremely important. One, this project is different than the others that you've seen in the past in the fact that it's generating over $12 million in direct revenue to Pittsylvania County. I already mentioned the other economic benefits that this is going to produce. I've spent, since the siting agreement was done almost a year ago, I've spent all this time doing extensive community engagement, resulting in extensive setbacks above and beyond what the county is requiring. all for the purpose of trying to get this thing hidden as much as possible. The last thing, or one of the last things that I want to mention again is the fact that we're using, when it's all said and done, 900 acres of well over 2,000 acres can actually have panels. And then the 1,400 acres will actually be the fencing around it, and then you're buffering. So that just goes to show you again how much buffering and setbacks we're creating from your neighbor, or our neighbors, excuse me. So, and then lastly, the project meets and exceeds all requirements of the county ordinance. We will make sure that we're adhering to all of the permit by rule regulations by the state and everything that they may impose going forward. So I hope that I've shown you guys that we plan on being, good community members, good neighbors, and then I respectfully ask that you guys approve this special use permit. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Does anybody have any questions for him right now? You're going to get a chance to come back, Tony. Okay, we've got some folks that want to. Virginia Surrey. Ms. Surrey. Good evening, Virginia. Welcome.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity. I'm a teacher, so I'm used to speaking to young people, so y'all bear with me. I have traveled all over the county as an ESL teacher and passed many of the current solar farms, the one at Dan River, the one on Irish Road. All of those don't have the buffers that these people are talking about. I traveled many times on Highway 40 going out to Mount Airy. If you've been out that way lately, it is a mess. Even if there was buffers there, trees, whatever. It's an unsightly mess. I'm sure that all of these people that are involved have invested a lot of time, careful planning in this project and have all their ducks in a row and possibly will counter all the objections that I have. They've got all these good intentions, but what will happen in actuality? He says, out of sight, out of mind. It's almost like a little child. If they cover their eyes up, you don't exist, and they don't exist. But in reality, you're still there. You get my point? Who's going to benefit from the electricity that's produced? Not us. Who's going to benefit overall? The landowners. I'm not an economist. What will be the economic benefit to our area? He's saying, all this revenue is coming in. How is the county going to receive that revenue? And I really don't understand this. How's the county going to get the revenue when it's on private property? Like I said, I'm not an economist, so I'd like to understand that. Aesthetically, what is going to be the effect on the landscape? Not just what is visible, but what's behind this buffer? What is it that we don't see? The land, they're talking about replanting grasses and stuff like that, but really the land is going to be pretty much clear from what I've seen in the other places. And this is over 2,500 acres. That is a lot of land. That is a lot of land. And even though it's going to be, everything will supposedly be away from landowners and all, it's still in our community. And I'm a landowner on Hopewell Road. My land holding is very small compared to some of my neighbors.
Virginia, can you wrap it up, please, ma'am?
Okay, sorry.
It's all right.
I've been friends, our families have been friends. We've owned land in the area for 3 or 4 generations. I've been friends with a lot of these people, and I understand where they're coming from, but I don't want it in our community.
Thank you, ma'am. Marcus Gray. Good evening, Marcus. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate the commission's time. I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm a farmer in Callens. Collins Road area west of Chatham, and wildlife biologist, certified by the Wildlife Society. And I see solar, I support the project, and I see solar as an opportunity to improve the agricultural economy in the county and in the region, primarily through sheep grazing. Tony mentioned that the Sun Tribe is looking into the feasibility of solar grazing. And as the scale of solar construction increases here in Virginia, we need novel solutions to address the vegetation management needs. And as flocks grow, landscape level management becomes possible. So during this transitionary phase, mechanical mowing in tandem with sheep grazing is really the way to go. And so a lot of my work since 2016 has been working on pollinator plantings, just coincidentally. And we work primarily on golf courses, but the same plants, similar equipment. And so I think we can manage these pollinator plantings with sheep grazing rotationally to benefit the whole community and wildlife and natural resources in general. So in terms of economic impact, as the economy was brought up, there's a political nature, as everyone knows, to renewable energy, but there are benefits of stacking economic and ecological values in solar construction, and the public relations of maintaining an agricultural use of the land underneath the panels will make a significant difference to folks like yourselves and the general community and the public. Jobs post-construction on solar facilities tend to focus on vegetation management anyway. 80% of the job is going to be, what are we going to do with what's growing under the panels? And so in addition to on-farm jobs, grazing will influence restaurants, retail outlets like grocery stores, butcher shops, livestock processing facilities, and outlet venues like the casino that was mentioned tonight, or even the RV park, that might have special events, wineries that may have special events that might serve lamb. So there are definitely ways that we can work together to lift up everyone in the community and provide jobs post-construction, not just during the initial phases. We're talking to restaurants in Danville, Martinsville, local butcher shops that want to have local lamb, but we need the processing facility, so we're working on that as well. So really, that's basically all I wanted to say on it, and happy to answer any questions. I brought an overview of solar grazing just to give you some background on it and some additional links for research of what's going on in other parts of the country and other parts of the world that I'm happy to provide electronically if that would please the commission. So appreciate the time.
Thank you very much. Skylar Zonk. Skylar, welcome.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the commission. It's a pleasure to be back here this evening with you all. My name is Skylar Zunk. I'm here on behalf of a nonprofit that me and my colleague founded called Energy Right to encourage energy developed the right way in Virginia and make sure that these projects can be the best neighbors possible. Had the chance to look at the board packet or the commission packet and some of the project details before coming this evening. A couple of the things we talk about in every area where we want to make sure energy is developed the right way is responsible setbacks and buffers. We need to be respectful of the neighbors who call these communities home. I truly believe these projects, when they're done right, can be out of sight, out of mind, and be peacefully, quietly producing power to put onto our grids. The question also comes up, what do these projects do for the community? Well, they're paying an inordinate amount of taxes that can help the community with schools, first responders, you name it. We think paying your fair share of taxes as a energy generation facility is a definite must. Also, this afternoon, I had the chance to visit Mr. Gray's farm, Kitchen Sink Farm, and learn about his plans for solar grazing, not only in Pennsylvania County, as a good home base for solar grazing, but across the state. Got to see his flock of sheep, absolutely enjoyed it. He talked about multiple uses or stacking values on land. I think that's a phenomenal multiple use case for these projects that are going to be taking up a sizable amount of land in our communities, but can support many farming jobs and other aspects of the economy that we might not think about now. Just really want to encourage you all to cite projects that are treating the community the right way. We think these can be phenomenal neighbors. On a personal note, my family owns a bit of acreage neighboring a project that Sun Tribe is developing in Chesterfield County. They spent a lot of time with our neighbors, came over to my house, talked with my family, ameliorated all the concerns of my grandparents, my aunts and uncles. Good company. It's been a pleasure to see them engaging in the community. And when we have voices like this, we can develop good projects and do energy the right way. So thank you kindly.
Thank you, Skylar. Jimmy Wells. Welcome, Jimmy.
I'm not much on speeches, but I'd just like to say I'm against these solar projects. I keep hearing out of sight and out of mind. I mean, if you've been through the Climax Road, I don't see how you can say that's out of sight and out of mind. Everywhere I've seen them at, I mean, they just awful. To me, they ruin it looks our community. And the citizens, nobody's benefiting from it as I know of, except for the landowners. And they keep talking about producing jobs. Sure, it's going to produce jobs while they're being built, but what I've read is once they are completed, it's going to be 1 to 5, most times just one job. And I hadn't heard anybody say after 20 or 30 years, when these things done run the course, what's going to happen then? I ain't heard nobody say. And I mean, I probably won't be around. It probably won't affect me, but my kids and grandkids and great-grandkids will be here. And like I say, I just not for it. And just, like I say, ruins the looks of wherever community they go to. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jim. Darren Whitt. Good evening, Mr. Whitt, and welcome.
Good morning. Good evening. Thank you. I'm a school teacher, so I'm used to saying good morning. Thank you for your time. I'm opposed to this. I am a landowner in the community. I live on Dry Fork Road. They originally wanted to put it right through my yard with a 75-foot easement, which would have taken up almost my entire 4 acres of usage. I told them no, so it's my understanding that they've just routed it to the very back of my property. As some of my other neighbors have said, these things are visually unappealing to the neighborhood. They will affect property values in a negative way for us homeowners. It will definitely help those few farmers who have these 2,000 acres, which is a lot of land to have. I'd like to read just a small piece from the Danville Register and Bee dated August 9 of 21, titled "Neighbors' Tempers Flare Over Solar Project in Virginia." And this is a quote from Tammy Witt. "We feel like we're living in a fishbowl," Tammy Witt said during an interview outside her home, hers and her husband's home, Tuesday morning. "We had no idea what we would have to look at 24/7. At times, the noise from the construction of the project was so loud and constant, Witt and her husband escaped by hopping into their car and leaving their home. 6 or 7 days a week. It's beep, 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 bam, bam, bam," she said. "When they put these poles in, it about sent me over the edge." Now that's from somebody who had to deal with this. This is the Climax Road project that has made the news, that someone else had referenced a few minutes ago. Witt told the Danville Register and Bee she felt like she was misled after being told by a representative that there would be no noise. It was going to be peaches and cream, they told her. "We're getting absolutely nothing out of this mess but a hard time." So, in conclusion, I just want to say that I'm opposed, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Tim Shelton. Good evening, Tim. Welcome.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Nice to be with you. Thank you for hearing the case tonight. I'm a landowner in this project. My name is Timothy Shelton. I'm a 6th-generation tobacco farmer in Dry Fork. My son's the 7th sitting behind me. My family has been there for over 200 years. We find this project, we're very, very excited about this project, and we're ready to evolve from producing tobacco to using the sun to produce electricity. And it's going to be a great benefit to our area. These guys with Sun Tribe have been amazing to work with. We've got 5 land partners in the project. All 5 land partners are 3, 4, and 5 generation landowners. This is going to be a state planning 101 for us. This 2,500 acres of land could potentially be developed into 2,500 homes because tobacco is failing. The timber industry is stagnant. Farming as a whole right now is very, very rough. I'm one of the largest producers in Pennsylvania County. I grow 350 acres of tobacco. And I don't know if I'll be growing it next year. It's getting tough. So thank you for your support. I want you to really seriously consider this project.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Tim.
Is it Cleo Clintage? Come around, dear. Good evening, welcome.
Sorry, I wasn't very prepared because I found about this last minute, so I'm going to try to make this short, sweet, and to the point. I want to start out by saying that I know Tim, I love Tim, so much respect for him, so I hope he understands, where I'm coming from. I live in Climax, where I get to see the lovely panels. There is no buffer, and I don't know if this is the same company, I really don't, but it's a mess. Traffic is terrible. All you see are those trucks going up and down the road constantly. I was also going to bring up the point that he said about the woman that also said about living in a fishbowl. I think that's awful. Now on Climax Road, all you see are for sale signs. Everybody is leaving the county, and I actually own land on Double Bridge Road, which is near the Climax panels, and my land has depreciated. So whether that has affected it, I have not gotten straight answers about it. I don't know. I'm going to go through. Out of sight, out of mind is not the pamphlets he probably showed you. It says that no, the picture that he showed with the nice grass, no, that is not what they look like. I really advise you people to go out to Climax. If you've never seen a solar farm, go out there and see what they're doing. This man talked about money the whole time. He did not talk about the environment. I've done my research. I've read everything from good to bad. There's no straightforward answer with solar panels. My big concern is the toxins from these panels when it rains going into the soil, going down into our aquifers, and also going into our wells. That has not been talked about. I think that is a big issue. I've seen where they talk about the panels having copper, and the copper leaks off of the panels and goes into the soil. Now, I do think if this is something they want to do, I would love to see soil samples be done. I think that would be great for our community to also see what the effect is on the soil and it going into it. Animals, I've read where if animals get in, they could actually get these chemicals, so you can't, we have hunters everywhere who can't hunt these animals because it's a ban on it because they're eating the chemicals from these panels. Let's see, he talked about Dry Fork. Dry Fork is also my fire department. They came to my house and they didn't even have the proper equipment to fix what needed to be fixed with my house. Let's see. Y'all are just losing people in the community. I feel bad. I do feel bad for these tobacco farmers because these companies are taking advantage of tobacco farmers. They are losing their money and they're going straight for these tobacco farmers to use their land for these panels. I'm coming here because I want to build my forever home in Climax, and I'm actually at the point where I'm scared too because I do not want solar to be, because this is going to be what it appears to me as going to be a solar community, Pennsylvania County solar community, and I do not want that. I think it genuinely is a good idea, but I do not think it needs to be surrounding our whole community. Thank you.
Thank you. Tony, John, do y'all have anything that y'all want to say or comment concerning?
Well, first of all, thank you for everybody that came up and spoke for and against the project. We certainly respect everybody's viewpoints on that. I think it's important that we try to touch on as many of those as we can. And I don't want to make this all about the money, but it does kind of handle a couple questions that were brought up. The siting agreement and the revenue that is coming into the county as far as job creations, the other things of what Danville's trying to do and Pennsylvania's kind of trying to do, the county is able to do what they see fit with that money, and we trust that you guys will do very well with that. Setbacks and buffering, and then the Climax project. I actually have been to the Climax project, and I'm not going to speak on that, but I will just say that over the course of this last year, we're learning from other people's mistakes, so we don't make those again. And I can just assure you that that is not going to be recreated here at this Hopewell project. As far as the panels and the toxins and everything, I'm going to let my engineer speak on that a little bit more. I mean, well, it's just not true, but please.
Yeah, absolutely. So all of the components of a solar, utility solar project are listed for their use and engineered for the life of the project. And solar panels themselves, while they're in operation, are totally inert and don't leach any contaminants into the surrounding area. And as far as like at the end of the life of the project, we're committed as a condition of this special use permit to decommission the project, and we'll be holding a bond on that as part of this project.
That's all we had as far as rebuttal.
Anyone have any questions for these gentlemen?
Mr. Darrell, how you doing, sir?
Hot seat.
We spent some time together Saturday, you, Mr. Oates, and Mr. Shelton, riding around and looking at the area.
Yep.
Thank you for explaining to us and for showing us the area. The bar is going to be set pretty high for this project, as you've heard and you've seen the area where a couple of large projects are currently in construction. Would you go on a record again and state what you foresee this project to be and how it to be for the community? Will it transform this community?
You know, I really enjoyed our conversation the other day, because I thought it was extremely transparent and genuine, and I hope that you got the same thing from me. And I think that, you know, when you see what's happening around the community, the other solar projects, I mean, you don't want to, you know, make the same mistakes other people make. You know, we literally took this past year, we could have probably been in front of you guys back in February or March after we got that siting agreement, but we took a step back and was looking at the environment, the solar environment here in Pittsylvania County, to make sure that this is a community-focused, smart with our versus our neighbors and everything that goes along with that. I think that I showed you several spots on this project where there is potential for visibility during construction, right? Maybe not as post-construction because of the buffering that's going to be put in place. And we talked about, you know, mitigating some of those issues during construction, and absolutely we want to work with staff as we move forward to the actual site plan process. We want to work with them on that. And I just want to reiterate just one more time that the setbacks that we're talking about in this presentation today, it's black and white. It's not like it used to be with Climax. I mean, they've increased significantly, as well they should, in my opinion. And I think that the concept plan that you guys are seeing absolutely shows that this is definitely different. And I look forward to that high bar. I truly do.
How about speaking to the access points, what you told us Saturday you all plan to do?
Yeah, so one of the issues that I noticed, I mean, actually traveling down here a couple times and being, you know, taking my truck around and with Tim and the other landowners, I mean, the clay soil down here, I'll tell you what, I did some site visits, and I think I took clay all the way back to Richmond with me. And so there's definitely got to be plans in place, which we will do during the construction process, and ensuring that these access roads are done properly when the ingress and egress is happening, that is not going to be the case. There's easy steps that are put in place. It's just a matter of actually committing and doing it, which we will 100% commit to doing that. Absolutely. And continue to work with staff with any kind of limitations that they'd like to see.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to speak. This project, like Mr. Waters said, we got a tour, and I can assure you this is not going to be Climax, and it's not going to be Kentucky. And most of these guys, I'm on a board down at the Dry Fork Fire Department with them. The rest of them I've known most of my life. And this project they put together shows how much they respect their neighbors, how much they respect the community that they live in. It's not about how many solar panels we're going to put on this tract of land. It's about what we can do to where we don't interfere with our neighbors. They've done a terrific job. Tim Shelton's going to keep his fingers on the pulse of this project to make sure it's done right. And when it's finished, when somebody comes to this county and says, we want to do a solar project, they're going to say, well, let's get in the car. We're going up the Dry Fork Road, and we're going to show you what we expect. That's how good this project is put together.
Thank you for saying that.
I'd like to speak not only as a commissioner, but as a citizen. I've always been a supporter, a proponent of a landowner being able to do with his or her property whatever they see fit, as long as it's within the confines of the law. And this is. And I'd like to compliment you guys, the landowners as well as the project managers. You have done your homework. You've done a fine job for some time. But I've got some mixed feelings as a citizen and as a commissioner. We as a county right now have more than just a few projects going on. As a matter of fact, I think we have 22 projects on the books going on in this county right now. It seems like almost every month this commission is listening to a special use permit request on a solar project. What's the county, I'll have to say the same thing, what's the county going to look like if we keep going at the rate we're going? A couple of rhetorical questions. Are we as a county soliciting these solar farms, these solar projects? I don't think so. It's the rhetorical. Has this commission, has the Board of Zoning Appeals, has the Board of Supervisors just made it easy? I mean, do we have a sign on their back that says Pennsylvania County's easy, guys, come on? It's just a thought. I don't see the surrounding counties getting as many requests as we get. I don't see as many solar projects going on in the surrounding counties as far as Campbell, Henry, even down in Carolina. I just don't see the amount that we have as far as requests. I understand the fundings, I understand the revenue certainly to the landowner, I understand them to the county. But over the course, okay, these 22 projects and $12 million over the course of the lifetime, is that going to be enough funds to warrant us as citizens not to see an increase in our real estate taxes or personal property taxes? I don't think so. I'm just saying, it's just as a citizen, as a concerned citizen. And I'd like to address the lady's comment, the first comment. Yeah, I'd like to see us as citizens benefit a little bit. Once this power goes into the grid, we don't know where it's going. Appalachian, if you're listening, hint, we'd like you to buy it, and I'd like my utility bill to be a little lower than what it has been, so we could reap some benefits there. I'm venting. I have let my thoughts and concerns be known to this commission, Board of Supervisors. We need to have a discussion, the three of us, the three agencies, Board of Supervisors, Board of Zoning Appeals, and this commission. We need to sit down and have a discussion on, and I understand the county, we're in the middle of changing and amending our comprehensive plan and our codes. We need to have this conversation. But my compliments to you guys and the landowners. This is a fantastic, seemingly a fantastic project. That's all I got.
Thank you again. I appreciate that.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, I would just like to say that I'm very impressed with Mr. Shelton and the landowners of considering the neighbors. They sort of redesigned somewhat to benefit the neighbors with the setbacks, and that's very impressive. And I thought Mr. Shelton made a really good comment. He's been in farming business for years. He's getting older like us all. This is a great opportunity for him if it's done correctly. Tobacco is not what it used to be. Timber, as he said, is not what it used to be. So he's got an opportunity to move forward. I don't think anybody in this room would turn down an opportunity like that. If he has the land availability to have a company of your integrity and your reputation, and I'm just really deeply impressed that you are considering the neighbors. Now, you gonna win them all? No, but you never do. But we are in a society now of change. Unfortunately, we cannot control everything that we want to in life. We cannot control someone else's property. It is theirs to do what they want to do, as long as it meets the specifications. So thank you. I was impressed with your presentation.
Thank you again. Appreciate it.
Anyone else have a comment? If not, 943, case S-22-021, closed the public hearing. Mr. Oaks or Mr. Waters, ever who?
I think I want to take it, Mr. Chairman.
Help yourself.
I'd like to make the motion that we approve special use permit S-22-02, the Hopewell Solar LLC project with the conditions outlined in the agenda. And that brings another question. Emily, as far as 15 is concerned and their request, do we need to do anything?
So if you would like to give them that flexibility, you would need to add language into 15. I think they proposed allowing staff to give them an additional year administratively and not having to come back before you all unless it went further than that 4 years. So you would need to add that language if that's something that you choose to do.
Would that be a separate motion, or do we just?
You could make a motion with the conditions submitted by staff with the amendment to 15 and then state what you would like for that to be.
Okay, I make a motion first that we alter condition 15 to include 4 years with the approval of staff. Is that correct?
So 3 years and then they have to
Right.
get staff's approval for the additional year.
Correct.
Okay.
Motion by Mr. Waters, is there a second?
A second?
Second by Ms. Meeks. Now, on the original motion, I don't think.
I would just do a hand, Vaden said that we could just do a hand
Just
vote.
do a hand vote on that, and then you'll use the software for the main motion.
Okay.
All in favor, raise the right hand. Let the record show 7 yes and 1 absent.
Okay, to continue the motion is to approve with the conditions specified for the project going forward. I think that, as was noted earlier, that this could be a model project for others to go by going forward.
Motion by Mr. Waters, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Oaks. Any further discussion? Now we're ready for a vote. Let the record show 7 yes. Is it one message showing 8? 7 yes and 1 absent. Forgot about Ms. Ellis. What else, Ms. Ragsdale?
I do not have any old business, new business. We will send you the cases for next month. We had a busy day today and we left those at the office, so we will get them to you. Additionally, please mark your calendars for October 18th. We'll send something out reminding you, but that will be our first bi-monthly meeting with the Board of Supervisors and you all to start looking at proposed revisions for the zoning ordinance update process. So that will start at 2 p.m. It'll be prior to the Board of Supervisors work session. Again, the first one will be October 18th at 2 p.m. We will be sending out a schedule for the next year. There are going to be 7 total, so you'll meet every other month at that same time. So we'll send that schedule out to you, but I just wanted to make a note so you can get on your calendar.
Same place.
Yes, it'll be here.
Is that it?
That's it.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.